Join us for a conversation on creation, connection, and community, featuring artists from the exhibition. Hear from them how their art builds bridges between past and present, self and society, and nurtures community through teaching, residencies, and collaboration. This panel discussion is part of the exhibition programming as part of an IFA-implemented project. This exhibition is part of the Pune Art Legacy Project initiated by Raju Sutar in collaboration with the Zapurza Museum of Art and Culture. Dr. Kohinoor Darda is the project coordinator of this foundation project, and Prafull, Botre and Esha Phadke are the researchers.
Thank you, everyone. So this is an initiative by Arisa Foundation with the collaboration with Zapurza Museum of Art and Culture. A main motive of this initiative was to document the artistic legacy of Pune, and so far we have done a series of interviews with the artist, and we have done an exhibition with all the available artworks with us. Shilpa ma'am, so our observation was when we started interviewing all the artists, we could see that many of the artists were working in the pockets, there was not much of a collaboration between the artists. So do you feel that any kind of an art movement might emerge out of, do you see that we'll continue to work in pockets? And this question is to you also, sir.
I feel that artists keep working in pockets, but to avoid that and to bring them together to kind of create a synergy in the art world, we have places like this wonderful museum, and there are so many other new venues that have come up in Pune. It's up to the artists to take an initiative, bring themselves together, make presentations, see each other's work. Sharing will create collaboration. Collaboration makes growth. It creates an environment which is helpful for art to grow, for the newer generation to come. So I think, yeah, there is a need to do more and more of that.
Similarly, I've been trying to create such opportunities from the very beginning, but this museum gives me a bigger platform, and now I can collectively work on these longer themes of collecting the data of Pune artists and all the influences which were here, from Gondelekar, Deuskar, Vijay Shinde, Dilip Chitre. There are so many other influences coming down to Pune, and what happened with that? What triggered with those interactions? So I'm thinking this platform is a bigger platform where I can now seriously, continuously start working on this idea of collecting the entire data so that the artists themselves can see what really has happened in the past and what is really happening now. So that positioning, I think, is very important. I think this museum is providing that.
Also, I would like to add a small thing in a city which is so culturally enriched. We have a culture of music, theatre, literature. Everywhere visual culture is lacking. And unless we create such platforms, it's not going to grow. So it's up to us how to push it forward.
But how do you see the future, going forward with the emergence of social media also, you guys can connect with each other, then there can be a thriving community just because people are in connect with each other. So going forward, do you see the overall community of artists, especially female artists, growing?
Well, I would say social media is a boon. Yes, everything is just a click away, and it's not just limited to a city or a community. It's like a global platform where everybody is connected. But I'm not sure how much it has really helped in actually forming a community. So far, if we have to just talk about this city and the community here, I'm not sure how much. I know so many artists who are connected with artists abroad, out of India, but they don't know what is happening in the city. So when you say how is social media influencing all of this, I'm not really sure about it. But yes, when you're on the social media, you are connected. But when you're actually working together, you don't even know the artists who are working. You don't know forget their names, their faces, but not even their work. So yeah, it's quite a tricky place to be. I would say, what would you say?
Yeah, I think because of social media, I am reaching out to people whom I really don't know. They stay in Pune or Maharashtra or in India, female artists. But at least without visiting their exhibitions or without visiting their studios, I'm able to look at their work. maybe sometime in process, because social media is allowing you to put your works through the process and the end product, and also the while you're exhibiting. So if you engage in that kind of a thing, if you follow such people, then you're able to see it. So how you use it, it's very important.
And I want to segue into like social media helping artists to reach new audience. Like it is happening with musicians, filmmakers. They are able to find their own audience, find new audiences which were not really in fine arts before. So is that happening right now?
I think social media is another. It's a very tricky thing. It's a kind of make believe thing. So you have an avatar on social media, which may not be the real. So what I am coming from the kind of culture, I used to meet all the artists, a lot of them, and then we used to spend a lot of time in the studio. So all those real things are not happening, and sometimes the image is presented most of the time, and then I think it is not helping the isolation. What your real question was, whether it is helping the isolation. I think it is not. It is just creating another image against the another image. That's kind of thing what is happening. So it is not really helping. At least if we talk about Pune, it's not helping. I think people should meet. The artists should meet. That is not really happening.
Also, I feel because on social media, people have such little time to actually see. And we're talking about visual art. So it's not about scrolling an image. It's actually about looking at an image. So social media can actually trivialize the artwork, take away the seriousness from it. So if you want to kind of get that kind of respect for an audience to really look at your work, then you need to see the work in actual, for which physical meeting and gathering is essential.
But my question also from the point of view of a layman artist or a educated people who are yet to start looking at arts because they have not been in contact with, like they might go to play once or twice a year, they might go to cinema, but when it comes to paintings or sculptures or other form of fine arts, like there is an audience for all the arts. Do you see like the bridge being made between the future audience and the fine arts?
It is positive and confusing at the same time.
There's a lot of pollution, the visual pollution.
Yeah, there is a lot of confusion there. So the people that are seeing the visual art, the kind of visual art on social media, there are all types of visual art. So finally the viewer is confused.
And there are so many artists who are not on the social media.
You use a nice word.
There are so many good artists who are not there on social media, whose works are not so easily seen. So yeah.
And also nowadays, like audience in a way is getting conditioned for smaller and smaller attention spans. Even like I'm assuming that whenever audiences are visiting the art galleries, they're due to social media, due to the scrolling habits, due to like constant bombarding of the images. Do you see like any change in the behavioral patterns of the audience, like how they conceive art when they do come to the galleries?
They don't come most of the time, but I think you have to consider social media or the mobile screen as a totally different medium. So it's a different media altogether. And when it comes to the art exhibition, we are not educated from childhood about the visual arts. We are very weak at that, and it starts from there. You cannot just encounter an exhibition and say that something has happened or something. But you have to start somewhere very early. So one of the aims of this museum was to do that, to engage with the younger audience. But that is an investment we have to do as a society. We have to invest in the future, and maybe we will have some result with that.
And another way of doing that to educate people to look at art is to take the art out of the galleries, to bring the art into a public space, because the white cube is a very alienated space. A common man is perhaps afraid to walk into an air-conditioned alien room and suddenly start looking at some art. So if you bring art into public spaces, make it more accessible to everybody, all ages, all kinds of people, it's a new way of creating visual concept. So our country needs access to that kind of art more and more.
It's more of a systemic issue, institutional issue, rather than a.
Now, it's a difference of culture. Initially, we had art as either lived in or lived with. You lived with art everywhere. You lived in art. You don't have to exclusively go to the art gallery. So this shift has suddenly happened haphazardly. There's no cultural shift in that way. So it's a very little connection or little intersection with the audience and the art and the artists. It's mostly the environment of the galleries and the collectors
Yeah.
and the artists. That's it. And that is how it has been on a, what do you call it? It's a survival mode. We are not even
I know.
getting better. We are all on a
Struggling to survive.
survival mode.
I would just mention one fun fact, going back to what you were saying, like due to social media, people are more aware, and has that affected the way they look at art in the exhibition galleries? My very recent experience, because I'm just back from Mumbai from my show at Jahangir, and how social media has influenced the way people view it. People view it as a background or a backdrop for their Insta stories or the reels that they create. I have seen people put on their glares, their dark glasses, and take pictures and create reels there.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure how much they really looked at the art or wanted to understand that form of art. They didn't even bother to come and ask who was the artist. They were just, they just wanted a colorful background. That's it. So that is how social media is affecting the viewership, I would say.
So last question into the whole technology thing. The whole emergence of AI is like taking over all the aspects of life. Like everywhere you can see some AI is playing some kind of a role, and especially with new softwares like DALI and all. Like it has become very like easy. You don't even have to put in a thought to generate an image. So first question is like, do you think for a layman audience or the general public it is competing with the art, because it has becoming harder and harder to distinguish between what is art and what is computer generated imagery? And the second question is like, do artists need to get on the train of AI, or it's like better to not take that train?
AI is just a tool, I think. And as photography came in, the art world was like questioning themselves what to do next.
Yeah.
So that thing is going to happen again and again as technology moves on. So artists are there, and nothing is going to change in the art world because of some technology thing. That is what I feel.
Same.
Also, if the artist intelligently learns to use AI.
Yeah.
A small example that I work in nature, and make really large scale installations. If I want to see how a branch of a particular tree, if it's put in this manner, normally I physically need to bring that branch and put it there. But if I do that to the AI and I get a visual glimpse of what it's going to be, it's saving my time and effort. So you can use it intelligently without being afraid of it.
Like a medium.
Yeah.
Like a medium.
Yeah, more of a tool.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
more
yeah.
like a tool. Yeah.
There's a ghost you have to make use of.
Because there's this frenzy about AI constantly taking over things, and especially in the field of finance, because it is very like, it has trivialized generating an image nowadays. Even we can see the posters outside, they are so like mediocre, but people are still using that. And like,
Unfortunately, even the AI needs
Intelligence.
You need to suggest the AI what
Yeah,
to use.
it has its
What is being
limitations.
fed is mediocre.
Correct.
It's going to give you a mediocre.
So limitations, right?
my next question is to all three of you, that you've all been inspired by traditions like be it Godadi quilt, and you've mentioned Ajanta frescoes has inspired you, abstraction for a long time. So like, how do you balance the tradition with your own voice? Like, how does that impact your own art?
I think it started because of that.
Huh.
So I don't know how impact, but it is
How does it
my
shape?
inspiration,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
maybe. I think it just, that magic once just started and now it's rolling. So I don't know. Again and again, I'm not going back and coming here at this point. But It has rolled now.
I think it just goes hand in hand, right?
Yeah, maybe.
It is, yeah.
For me, I think one of the earliest impressions which made a strong in my mind was the Ajanta frescoes, because we had gone on a study tour with the professors from JJ. And what is remaining now, because of lapse of time, were very fragile, sensitive drawings on the wall. And that made such a deep impact on me that back then I chose that form of and that material as my tool. I used watercolors, or even if I were painting, oil painting, it was extremely transparent. And I loved that fragility and sensitivity of the surface. And one seeked to kind of create that or recreate that. So that was a direct influence, I would say, at that point.
And in terms of like Godadi, I mean, whenever there is some kind of a traditional art, and when you pick that and try to make something of your own, I mean, there you are always going to break the generally accepted norms. Has that happened with you? Like, say in Warli paintings, particular shapes are there, like triangles, squares, and if say some artist tomorrow wants to do art inspired on that, but there would come a point where he would have to, or he or she would have to, break out of the generally accepted norms of that particular traditional art. So, do you feel that is happening with your own art also?
Yeah, absolutely. I think my inspiration came from Godadi, but it is a utility thing. So my art is not to be used as like directly, but you have to view it, you have to see it. It's a visual art. It's for our experience. And that shift, I think I observed that when people go to art galleries, they are not appreciating abstraction in art much as they do when they are roaming around the cities and they see these godadis which are actually abstract in forms, and they really appreciate that. That was my trigger point. Then I thought, why don't I try to experiment with this and put this kind of a thing in my art, and it will go to art galleries, and then may people get connected to that and will appreciate it more. That was the trigger and thought behind the idea, the tradition, and bringing it to the contemporary art.
But could you also talk about a little about like how it has been since you started? I think around 2002 or 3.
1996,
Yeah.
around that time.
Yeah. So over these many years, how the perception has shifted?
Perception of mine, or maybe the people who are looking at the art. So I think fiber art has become like in thing now. So I'm doing it for last many years, but nowadays I go everywhere and I see that people are working with textiles and fiber, and it's largely being appreciated all over the world, I see. And all binales and trinales yeah, exactly.
And like with you also, like there's this shift we can see from figurative art to like nowadays a lot of artists are doing abstract art. So do you also feel like when the audience visit and they look at your art, there's a sense of visual literacy, or it's like still the old days?
It is again a combination, I would say. There are some, well, it depends on who we call literate and who we call illiterate, I've seen some really simple people coming from rural areas coming and appreciating abstract art because they just connect with it. I've seen children connect with it. Children connect the best with abstract art because children are the ones who don't really ask for any explanations. They just say that they like it or they don't like it, or the kind of experience they get through an abstract art. But yes, there are some people who really are willing to get educated about how to look at some abstract art or any art, and there are some people who are not even interested in that. So yes, some visual literacy will definitely help. We will get more people who are enjoying this visual art. It is after all about giving some kind of experience. So
The pool is always going to be a small pool of audience for like even there's the people who actually read is a small pool, like only like 2-3% of the entire population might be actually voluntarily routinely reading. So I think the pool is also like not as large as say for the cinemas or the theaters.
I think there's a problem with connection. The art and the general people are not getting connected somehow. And it has been there for a very long time.
But do you see any reason for that? Like why this mismatch?
The art has been taken by the British academics and all other history of art and everything, the Western history and everything. So it is going in a way, whereas the common man has no connection with that. So there are two parallel things always going on. Moreover, people in India generally are worried about their day-to-day meal. Yeah. They are completely engrossed in their day-to-day life, and I don't see there is a space for them to invest into such kind of a thing. And whereas we as an artist have gone so far that now you cannot take a U-turn and maybe meet somewhere. Now this has been a very difficult space for a very, very long time, since I can say since the modernism.
Also, it boils down to the same thing of creative visual culture. To start
Absolutely.
from, to give you a very small example, in 1996, I had a solo show in Paris, and they were laying the telephone line on the footpath, and one man was digging it. I mean, they were doing physical work, and he every day would walk up to the gallery and stand in front of one painting. But I was doing that work, digging the street.
Yeah.
And on the last day, when his work was getting over, they had laid the telephone line and he was putting back the stones. He came and he said that I love this work, but I'm sure I don't have the money to buy it. So imagine a mason on the street here would never dare to walk into the gallery. We have not created that culture for them. Yeah.
So we have gone a little far with this all history of art and all of that. We have gone little away, and there are very little connecting points in between. And there are, if you like, what was her experience? I had a similar experience. I did a show with a collection of my friend who has motorbikes. So we had this exhibition, and we also had those motorbikes in the gallery. So once in a while, used to fire it in the gallery. So I have seen great people like the fitters and the engineers. Yes, they are coming. They used to like scared, to enter the gallery. So we used to call them. So these connecting points are missing. I think that is where the work needs to happen. The connections. So I don't want to say that the artist should forget whatever they are doing, but they should create connecting points. So like this museum is one of the efforts to connect those points. And we get a great different cross-section over here. Like on Sundays, we almost have 500 people.
Wow.
Saturdays, Sundays. So from very different backgrounds. And they actually go to the gallery, they see Hussein, they see Raza, they see everything. So this is where the connecting point needs to be. Yeah. Instead of you changing yourself or something else, you need to create those connecting points.
Yeah. Even when I did the guided walks, like when the people are walking in, we cannot say there is no hunger or they are not eager to learn about it. But one of the person asked me that, how do I know this is the art? And they were very genuine about it. They just wanted to know more about the art, why this is actually why this is great. What are the parameters? So there is this general hunger amongst the audience. I think there is not enough
opportunities. There are very few opportunities for them. And looking at the busy life, they actually have a very few opportunities.
And I'll just come back to the same question of perception of the audience, since you also work in like a very different medium of installations, and which is not a very mainstream medium per se. So how that has been for you from the perspective of the audience?
So I think that is the best part of making that work for me, because for me the city or working in the nature, that itself is the studio, and the material also belongs from there, because I most of the time work with natural material. So it's almost like a performance that you're doing. The entire process of working in a public space where there are passerbys, and most of this work is out of India, where they have walking tours or they have people coming to actually see that they know that this artist is working in so and so park. So people come and they ask you questions, and normally artists are quite secretive about their technique or method of painting or sculpting, and they'd want to do it indoors into their confined space of their studio. But when you're working in outdoor, I've done a lot of work in the water. So I am in freezing cold water, up to my waist. I'm standing there for days together, or I'm in a big pond or a lake standing in the middle there. And outside, you see like a bunch of people actually standing, taking photos, and they're waiting for you to come out. So my viewers are not only humans, but they're ducks, frogs, butterflies, birds, and all kinds of people. And you actually grow as a human being, and nature teaches you so much because the weather is changing, and suddenly there's a hailstorm, there's rain, there is wind, there is attack of hard sunlight. So there is too many spectators and too many things put in front of you as a challenge. So I think the humans are the easiest once they're born. And it's nice to interact with them. They sometimes come and give you a helping hand and hold things for you or bring things for you. Or
All of you have been like teachers or facilitators or mentors over the years. Like you've taught at Abhinav, right? And you've been at Samsat Bhavan, right? Rachna Bhavan, my bad. So, and like how this teaching has shaped your own practice. Like, could you talk about that also? Like teaching in that sense, you have to first do some homework. You have to know your own things. You have to study it properly. So in the process, you will be able to teach the people, teach the kids. So how the whole teaching aspect of your own life has shaped your own art? I'll start with you.
Well, my answer will be very, very cliche, but I have learned a lot more than the children, I would say. For 15 years, I have been associated with wonderful children who are forever curious, forever inquisitive, forever brave, to try, to understand, to learn. And to be able to teach them, there is nothing like teaching them. They already are well aware of what they want to do. It's only about helping them, facilitating them, and showing them what can be done. Just as an example, they will do what they want to do. And the best part was, while teaching children, I had to come down to their level. And all that I had learned all over the years, there was a lot of unlearning. I had to come down to the level of the kids from ages like 7 to 13. And that was the most amazing experience, I would say, I had for over the years. Because the things that I learned, I wouldn't be able to put a finger on it and say, okay, I learned this. But the whole experience of unlearning, of becoming a child again, and doing things with them, sharing things, discussing things with them, and seeing what comes out of the limited material that we had at school level, in a very traditional format of schooling in India. We are restricted to the kind of material we use. But even in that, the kind of results that we could achieve has been a totally enlightening and learning experience for me myself. So yes, I have changed as a human being, as an artist. Forget being just a teacher.
So I usually conduct art appreciation workshops. That is kind of a teaching, I may say. And while I'm showing something, people do something else, and then you get a new point of view, a new perspective, which I would have never done or I would have never thought before. So that experiments that makes me grow. I love that exchanges. So that's it.
yeah, just adding to what they said, that Rachna, the age group was very interesting. It was from 18 to 25. So they're thriving with life and new ideas. And one would never call oneself a teacher, but a facilitator. And it's more a platform to exchange ideas. And through sharing, you learn both ways. You are learning and they're learning from each other rather than somebody teaching. And I think it was a very, very fulfilling experience that helped to give clarity to one's own thought process, to one's own art practice. And I think that was the best thing that happened for me during those years.
Could you also give any instance from your teaching period back then that you remember distinctly that that made me unlearn something that I had previously doing, and now certain thing happened and now I went back to basics and unlearned something. Do you have any particular instances?
Well, not anybody, yeah.
So I think while explaining something, I understand that I failed to explain something. Then I need to articulate myself better. So articulation is the thing, it's a key thing. Communicating with someone else, what you want to say, that clarity, bringing that clarity to yourself, and then giving it to other person, and then the what result comes. So it's continuously a thought process. What you are doing, what the other person knows, his background or her background, and then what you're bringing on the plate. So that whole thing, I think, is very interesting. That process itself.
Very rightly, what she's saying is that, when you are interacting with minds, they are literally absorbing everything that you are saying. So like she said, one has to be so careful about what you are saying, how you are saying, because it's going to affect both the people involved. So it kind of gave an additional dimension to your communication skills and to the content of that communication. Because normally you could say anything, or when we were studying, we didn't have that kind of a thing. So they were more like friends. We never had that hierarchy of somebody giving and somebody taking, but all of us trying to be together and understanding something for the better.
Yes, thanks to my art school days, I now know for sure that teaching doesn't work in art. Definitely, it doesn't work. It is something else you have to do. But it has to be the sharing. That's the only way.
Yeah. But there has to be a certain way of pedagogy that goes into it.
No, but techniques, you can only teach techniques. Like you can teach grammar. How will you teach poetry?
Correct.
So that technique part, now you go to YouTube and you will have everything.
Yeah.
So I think teaching in art is almost impossible.
Perhaps the only thing, maybe what I realized, that the people who are coming to the art college really need is to give respect to their own process of learning. Again, because of social media and this and that, their minds are so engaged that they have lost their own intuitive self. When you would give them an assignment, they would all run to the computers, look at the internet, start looking for references. And we were fortunate in that sense that we didn't have, we would try to tap our own brains for that. So perhaps the only thing we could tell them was that, guys, you have it within yourself and there's no need to kind of run to access something else.
And I'll just take this forward with say there are new kids who wants to be in this field. Do you suggest them to go to an art school? What would you advise them?
I will advise them to visit the museums and the artists. Don't go to the art school.
Studio visits type thing. Work with the artist. Work experience learning will be the best way of.
But the formal teaching, does it do any good? You all been formally educated.
Yes.
So does it really help nowadays? There are so many resources available online, as you said. So does it?
So curriculums may be good on the paper, but actually when you go to college, the experience is not good.
So it depends on the teachers.
The only thing that the academic space offers you is that, there's literally no need of an art college, but then are you ready to dedicate those 4 years of your life, park everything else and only commit to learning? Then that can come from anywhere. So that commitment comes when you're going to one destination, but that doesn't necessarily mean you learn something from there. You can learn something from anywhere, but it's about the commitment.
And I think it also instills you, I'm assuming that it also instills you with some routine, some discipline to begin with, because the new generation that is coming into art school is barely around 17, 18, and they might not know the importance of routine or the importance of discipline. So in that sense, is it helpful?
But that is true with everyone, in every field. It's not about just the art.
That even in the college, I have students coming and saying, मैम मैं कल पार्टी में गया था 11 बजे उठा अभी आया. Even in the institution they were doing that. So it's about your individual commitment, how much you are yearning to learn.
I think that is immaterial. The urge is important.
Yeah, the urge is important.
If you have the urge, I think you'll find the sources.
A question I had was can you to all four of you this question is like, can you tell me about like your favorite depiction of feminist thought in the recent times that you've seen in any sort of arts?
For me, it's a little easier. As I said, I was in Mumbai at Jahangir, and there was this show of a woman artist, and she had depicted the subject of her paintings was women and nature, and it was beautiful to see how she had drawn parallels between womanhood and nature, and you know how happy those women were in the lap of nature, whether surrounded with trees or flowers or mountains, and doing their daily activities, the kind of community she had shown. It was just beautiful, and I loved the concept of drawing parallel between womanhood and nature. So yes, that was quite an interesting one, I would say.
I have a different idea of looking at womanhood, and there have been two sculptors who have inspired me a lot. One is Louis Bourgeoisie, who is a French-American sculptor who lived till the age of 96. And you know her famous spider outside the Tate Museum in London. The other one is a Russian sculptor called Tanya Prominga, who also works till date. I feel that to express womanhood, you do not necessarily need to have women figures into your painting. But to give you an example, that if I'm making a big scale installation, you need a lot of strength and vigor to create that work, which is physical, but the visual result is very delicate and fragile. And I think that's what womanhood is all about. You're strong as a human being, but you're looked at as a fragile or a delicate entity. And I look at womanhood that way. And I think that art that goes close to that idea inspires me.
So I think womanhood, as we put it in like male, female, we put it in genders. So rather than that, I would say it's a thought of uh, being female. I mean, maybe a male have a feeling of that feminism. It may not be expressing well, but um, I can see traditional arts like Adivasis art, tribal art, and folk art. If you go to core of that, that's the feminism. That is what I feel, because they want to bind everything together. There is equality.
Yeah, that's
There is nothing like less and more, male and female. It's beyond that. That is, I think, when you see it from within, and you're binding everything. It's like you're being a mother, you're being a womb, you're being an earth. You see that kind of a beautiful feeling in that art. And there is a beautiful saying of tribal people. It is from Narmada Khora, काय म्हणायचं त्याला? Valley, and that is Amu Akha Ek Se. Amu Akha Ek Se. That is, we are all one. So who we are, like from ant to sky and stars, humans and all creatures,
Yeah.
we are all one. So it is like a binding invisible thread.
Yeah.
So that beauty you can see only in every all travel and folk art.
Yeah.
But maybe not artists like us who are more in the urban kind of setup.
Yeah.
Yes. So this was I was going to tell you about. We worked on a project with Medha Patkar. We went to Narmada, and that is the incident what she is saying. It goes beyond gender, once, and the idea of feminism is also a very, very loaded word, where people sometimes use it for convenience. But at the core, I think everywhere in every culture, it was the female was the main energy, and in between somewhere it has changed. And then we have to say now feminism as such, but otherwise there was not a need. But yes, it's a big problem now. The way the entire world is leading is going completely against feminism totally. And that sculptor Varanasi Latika Kat, I would like to mention Latika Cut. She was like this beyond gender. She like carved marbles, 40 feet marbles. Sometimes she made some very tiny small sculptures also, you know. That's the skill she was working with. She just passed away last year. The great artist. If you can Google her.
And this is like last question. Like I want to know about the art market right now. Like in general, can you tell us about that?
Art market has got nothing to do with art. Exactly. They're two different things. So you should probably ask gallerists about the art market.
Let's say, like she said, it's a parallel thing. Art and the art market are very, and sometimes in between there are bridges where they meet very frequently. Not they don't intersect. They are parallel. But today, art market in India is not looking good because there's a lot of malpractice happening at a certain level where there's a lot of big pool of money which they keep exchanging within themselves. And there are parallel stories within contemporary art also happening. But the only thing is they are working towards the brand and not towards the art. And this is what a big trouble of the contemporary art is. This is a big movement, contemporary art, all over the world. But this movement is all about economy, money, not about art.
True.
This is a tragedy.
But there are also, I know exactly what you want to ask when you ask about art. So there are also many other ways for artists to earn money and not starve like the modernists were doing.
Yes, that is for sure.
So all over the world, you have opportunities to be invited, to be commissioned to create work and get paid a decent fee. The only thing is that you have to have the enterprise to embark on that journey. If you're ready to leave the coziness of your studio, the coziness of your city, and to take that jump, there's a lot of opportunity out there.
There is. Absolutely.
So I have one question. Why female artists? Why women artist show is here? What is the idea?
The main motivation was like from what we were seeing, there was not much documentation around the women artists. Even the prominent ones did not get the coverage, and this has nothing to do with the kind of art someone is doing. This is rather, this parity can be seen very like even with the naked eyes, that the women artists don't get covered a lot. So the main thought was to get a centralized documentation, a centralized exhibition, get people to know the artist, because it is a man's world at the end of the day, and in any field it is a slightly easier for men to assert their jobs, assert their
So
creations.
another question in continuation to hers, that if you were to have a male Pune artist show, do you think they are well covered in the city?
Comparatively, yes. I think Raju sir is more qualified to answer that.
Not really. So the art is completely different from, but yes, they have better chances to.
Opportunities, I would say, are better.
Right.
Being a man, it's slightly
Better environment.
Yeah, to navigate your own way into man's world. I think it's rather easy. Yeah.
You just speak about like the collectivity and the collectivism that is essential to bring artists. But I was curious to know, the title of the exhibition is also legacy. So how, for all of you as practicing artists, the legacy that Pune Arts has kind of influenced you or inspired you? That was something I wanted to know about. Not only because legacy is something we can't always define in terms of male artists, female artists. It's a much continuous history. But I do understand there's a importance of where we define women artists. Maybe also the time to look at holistically as artistic world. But I want to do specific, what is specific to Pune legacy, how all of you see it in your practice.
I can answer this question because I moved to Pune in 1989 for a short spell of time from Mumbai. And when I came here, I literally cried every single day because I had no artist friends, because I didn't study in the art college here. And that pushed me to kind of start looking at who are the artists in the city and what are they doing. And there was a workshop at Alliance Française where there were a bunch of sculptors doing something. So I urged the director to allow me to become a part of that workshop. And he said, I cannot pay you or give you any fees for participating, but you can come. This started as a root cause to start meeting the few bunch of artists in Pune. And it turned into a movement. We formed a group called Friends of Visual Art and soon did 3 successful exhibitions with 27 artists. That itself became a legacy for the artists of today, because I'm talking about 1989. So 1990, 91, 92, 93, we had all these exhibitions. Probably they were crawling in their, not her, but art oil. So that
this
was
is what I meant by the legacy of Dilip Chitre. Dilip Chitre was instrumental in forming this Friends of Visual Art group.
Nag Foundation was there. So
Yes.
that time there
Mrs.
was
Nag
some
did a lot.
movements, and
Yeah.
I think that legacy, we can say that there were few good exhibitions at Balgandhar Art Gallery.
Yeah.
A Bengal school artists plus Hussein. I remember because I was volunteering for that.
Yes. And then there was a contemporary art show with the senior artists and junior artists, which she had handpicked from Pune. So they were directly put on a platform with the contemporary artists who were then practicing all over India.
Keku Gandhi was involved in this event.
So some of us were a part of that exhibition. That was in 1993.
And also, if we say legacy, I don't know what I'm saying is it will fit into that or not. But Vijay Shinde came to Pune and he stirred the art world here in Pune, and somehow that his thought reached to me because of Raju. I think he used to like every day they were together for a very long time and they shared good memories. And Palshikar's thought actually came to Pune.
Yes, through Vijay.
Through
Yes, so
Vijay.
that is the legacy I'm trying to. Even in this exhibition, Nirmala Patwardhan.
Yes, yes.
So she has got all the ceramics happening in Pune. Otherwise, so there are things, if you tap those things, there are so many things happen. Otherwise, there's a general perception that nothing happens in Pune. So which I think with this project, it's going to change. It is changing.
These 2 names were definitely very instrumental. Vijay Shinde played a big role, and so did me. I mean, she was like the godmother of art in Pune at that time. Somebody was doing something really valid and serious. And like she said, Vijay got the Parshikar thought process into this because it was perhaps lacking in the culture of the art college here. And yeah, we had really intense dialogues with him. I mean, he was my senior at JJ, so he would visit the studio every day and literally guide us. So we shared some amazing time then.
In Pune artists, we don't have this gender thing. That is what I've observed. That male artists won't say that she is a female artist and shall we take her in our group or not.
That is true.
We are all together. We are like having a very good, very equal. Equal
She became a part of Friends of Visual Art because she was female.
No, there were no girls at that time. There were 12 boys and I was the only girl. So we had to go looking for another girl to be a part of that because they said you can't be the only woman in this group or woman out. And I don't know whether that culture exists today in Pune, but outside Balgandhar, in that beautiful garden, and I mean, you're blessed with such amazing trees and gardens in Pune, that they had a lovely canteen and that was an artist gathering. Every single day we would hang out there, we would talk, argue, discuss.
Vada.
Eat vada. But I wonder whether that exists anymore. If there is any hangout place for artists today.
So, I mean, that brings me to not a question, but for everybody who is from Pune. I am not. I currently stay in Bangalore. But this sense of, or lack of collectivism, collected space experiences, that is what you're trying to do through this exhibition, right? Do you think there's a lack of space, not in terms of physical space, but of having these collective discussions? Like, even as a city, is there an apathy towards congregation? Is everything moving towards... and if yes, as artists, how do you think or why do you think that has happened? Is it just socioeconomic reasons, political reasons?
You just need a tree, to gather. You just need a tree and you need to go and sit under the tree. The Pune University is such a brilliant space to do that. It offers the most wonderful environment for that.
So last year, the Pune Municipal Corporation asked me to visit and they were forming a cultural policy of the city for the first time. We are calling ourselves cultural capital, but for the first time they were drafting this policy. And then I learned that there are 19 art galleries created by Pune Municipal Corporation. Nobody knows.
Wow.
And all of these spaces are used for official uses. So we have to reclaim. That's what I've been telling these artists. We have to reclaim our spaces. We have to reclaim our.
Famous.
Because we have been also being part of an arts foundation that is based out of Bangalore, there's no dearth of spaces, be it public, be it private, but those spaces are inaccessible for whatever reason.
Yes.
Even like, if you go out for protest for a reason, you would often sit back on the stairs of the library or, you gather around. People will make posters there. Those are not allowed anymore in public spaces. So literally when you even have a gathering, it's kind of pushed to a certain part of the city or part of a very white cube, highbrow space. So I mean, good to know that, at least probably enlisting of such spaces, not in a formal manner, but in
And
the
19
discussion.
is a lot, yeah.
Yeah, that was a huge surprise for me even to know that number. And those are listed as art galleries. They are badly done, although, but they are still there.
But they exist.
They exist, but nobody knows it. Absolutely nobody knows.
And one aspect of her question was about the congregation. Like, do you see it happening like enough of the times? Like, is there a
Not really. It used to happen when Vijay Shinde and all of us were around. We used to every day hang out. We used to like not just discuss, fight.
Yeah.
A lot of things happened. So that you can write a book on a lot of those things. But yes, that time she was also part of that. So we used to do that a lot. And that was not just opposing to each other but going to somebody's studio and saying something which he's doing or which he's not doing, and having that conversation, making sometimes this artist uncomfortable.
Yes. I mean, we had
All
guts
sorts
to
of
say
things
you're
happen.
doing, or you don't like what you're doing, or it came from very honest.
And that is the culture
interaction.
which I am coming from, and that is exactly what I want it to be revived some. And that brings what the legacy is, all these discussions, informal discussions, studio visits, the fights, the endless chais, and all those things are the ones which decide the legacy on the side. This place is designed for that. So we had this idea from I was involved in this project since 2012. So from there we always wanted it to a meeting point for everyone, and we have created multiple areas where if somebody doesn't like art, you can go to the nature. So there are so many alternative points, and accidentally if you come across the art, you become curious. So we are trying to create that opportunity. We had art appreciation courses happened in this place. There are happening also. And the other one, the urban sketches, those are mostly the architects who are doing it.
Okay.
It's more of a sketching, but
On the similar platform, can art be
yeah, it's a good question.
Yeah, it's a good start, I would say.
There are
It's a
lot
good
of
start.
friends of mine too who are from Pune, and they keep saying that why don't you organize an art appreciation workshop? We have a friend of mine and me have a very well designed art appreciation course. And the minute we actually reached out to this bunch of group who was telling us to hold that course, they say, "Arey, I'm busy this weekend, let's do it some other time." That's where there is the seriousness has to come from the person who wants to know.
There are workshops happening, may not be too many, but yes, a handful of them are definitely happening. And yes, I feel the kind of sketching groups or, that I would say that's a good start, but that's not exactly what, maybe. After that, it is up to every individual to, go into the depth of it and attend some more workshops or visit such museums, be a part of such spaces where they can see more art. Just going and visiting art exhibitions is a good start. How do we learn about music? We become good listeners, we develop that kind of aptitude to understand good music that we enjoy. The more you see art, you develop that kind of an eye, I would say.
Yes. So we used to have a railway ticket, and we used to go to Mumbai.
Yeah, during our days. So yes, it is up to everybody,
Idea of why is it important for people and how is it going to change them as a person by looking at art, understanding it is very important. Otherwise, people just think that, this is something
Even if you have an opportunity, you have to reach out to.
Exactly. Why is it important? How it's going to benefit them as a person.
Yes.
Even as a society.
Exactly.
And that's what I would repeat one he said it like the beginning. It should, I feel, very truly believe that it should all start at very young age. You know, children going out and seeing art in the galleries, having conversations with the artists.
They can have opinions about a masterpiece. Why not? And just have that courage to say that, yes, I like a Van Gogh or I don't like a Van Gogh. And if I don't like it, why I don't like it? The kind of freedom of expression they should have. If that starts at a very young age, I think it's not very far that we will all be literate enough. It's all about starting at a very.
We are hoping so because we are
at a very young age.
We are just 3-year-old. The museum.
I know, and
we are hoping.
I've seen so many schools visit this place, and
we have some
the kind of
18,000 students visit up until now.
So
18 to 20,000.
this kind of initiative is definitely going to be very helpful.
You guys are using ink and artists and when you're doing that process, do you think that your memory also influences with the work?
Memory is a very important building block of any creative process, because I think that you start gathering inspirations from a very early age, which you can call memory, and you start collecting them, and they are your building blocks which allow you to get inspired, or you have a collection of things within yourself which becomes the narrative or the starting point for you to start a concept to make art. And then they all kind of get bifurcated into an art language that you create, whether it's painting or installation or sculpture, with the choice of material. Now again, your memory keeps coming back to you with the choice of materials, how you've lived your life, where you spent it, and what you did with it. So it's a back and forth dialogue that goes on within yourself.
Same thing like with her, the family had her grandmother and mother, they used to all into
Do Godadis.
Actually,
stitching fabrics.
my nanny was very good at stitching. So her early age, she was only 10, she started stitching her own clothes. So that's quite weird, but it is true. And that is how this fabric culture came into my life, because I was always surrounded by that. And even my school uniform was made at like mother or maybe my nanny. And I never wore any dress from like ready-made. And I was totally out of like touch from that. And that it came naturally to me. So while I was doing some paper collages, I shifted easily to fabric collages, and that is how my journey started. When we see something, we remember that this artist, particularly this artwork, particularly that artwork has a connection with that.
So the memories are
always there. Like we have so many folders, and
absolutely.
that
I think
we
all
catch
of us,
that and,
us, even you all, everybody, as human beings, we keep collecting so much information and experience. We are gifted, and we are happy that we are able to translate it in the kind of form of visual art.
I think everybody does that.
Everybody does that.
We have that
form of manifestation.
Everybody expresses.
We have
in
trained
their own way.
ourselves in particular thing, but everybody does.
Everybody does that.
And I would like to thank Zapurza
Thank you
for the opportunity, bring us together, meeting many of my friends after a long time here because of that. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you.